The views and opinions expressed by the hosts do not state or reflect those of the company and its management. Furthermore, the assumptions, views, opinions, and insinuations made by the hosts or the guests do not reflect those of the show, the management, and the company.
Identify, discussed, understand. Casting live from Manila, Philippines, we are Simply Security, helping you streamline security easily.
Good evening, Philippines!
Good evening, listeners.
This is the first episode of Simply Security. I am Miles Melia.
And this is Eric Kalindogan.
Welcome to Simply Security,
helping you streamline security easily.
So for our listeners, maybe they also want to know what is Simply Security and what are they going to expect on our podcast.
First of all, for those who are just new to the channel, this is our very first ever episode. Call it Simply Security, more on the webcast and the podcast. Basically for everyone who doesn't know us, we are Business Profiles Incorporated. I'm actually representing one of the business unit for business profiles called Black Pearl. This particular online project platforms actually started during the onset of the enhanced community quarantine. So basically what we realized is that in a moment that the time stopped, even for businesses, organizations, we were prevented to go to our offices, even to talk to people. So we thought in our organization that, especially in corporate security, the learning should continue. Because of that, we started creating Meet Direct Touchpoint. So for those who are familiar with Meet Direct Touchpoint, it's basically a online platform. It's a webinar platform wherein we invite security experts and professionals for them to be able to discuss certain topics, frameworks, issues. And it has been very successful. In fact, we just finished our 11th episode. What we realized is after looking at some of the comments of our audience, many of them, surprisingly, are actually non-security professionals who are very enthusiastic. They're very excited to know more about security. The thing with the webinar, it's more of like a classroom type setup wherein the expert would discuss it on a linear format. Basically, what we found out is that during open forum or after the seminar, the webinar, that's the time that conversations, discussions comes in. And we had that light bulb moment wherein why not we do it like on a podcast format wherein people could actually discuss, converse, spontaneously. We're building like a community of conversations leading towards discussing about corporate security. Because in the Philippines, Miles, let me throw back the question to you now. So when we talk about corporate security, what's your first impression about it? Or what's the first thing that pops in your head?
Well, for me, it's this analogy of a dog. When you see people in this industry, or let's say security guard, for example, in a mall, you see that person very composed, somehow on the background. But behind that, you know how tedious their work is. Make sure that everyone is safe. Also look at each people who are the threat and who are the... So there are a lot of things that people don't know, including me, about this industry. And probably there are also a lot of things that some of the people who are already in the industry, things that you should talk more.
That's exactly what we're trying to aim in this particular platform. It's like, for me, it's just surprising. 10 years ago, yes, I've been more than a decade in the security industry. After uni, I've realized that I also have that limited image or limited information about corporate security. But when I went on board, that's the time that I realized that it opened my mind into so many, career directions. It's like a very diverse field. It's not only about security officers, security managers. You also have analysts. The thing is, the corporate security industry is actually almost limitless. What I also found out, at least on my own personal realization, is that when you're into corporate security, it's actually more of like an intellectual thing. It involves a lot of critical thinking, logic, and even creativity. That's basically what we're trying to attain in this kind of platform.
It's not only about making, for example, a company, an organization, or a certain number of people secure, but there are a lot of things that we should dig in or know more about this industry. And I can't wait, Eric. Tonight, we decided to invite a known security expert in the Philippines and the region, to give both his personal and professional perceptions of security as a career.
It is actually my pleasure to have him here tonight. I'm very excited for our listeners as I have learned perhaps a big chunk of my professional life or everything I know about security through this guy. And perhaps even my personal disposition, I owe it to him. I consider him a good mentor. Without any further ado, let me introduce tonight's guest. He is an Israeli national who lived and stayed in the Philippines for more than 30 years. He is a security expert and guided a number of companies and organizations here and abroad. He is the managing director and principal security advisor for Business Profiles Incorporated, a security innovator, my mentor. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Josef Gueta. Good evening, Joseph.
Good evening, Miles. Good evening, Eric.
Hello, Joseph. Good evening. It's nice to meet you.
You too.
Okay, so let's get more personal, Joseph. First, what brought you to the security profession?
In Israel, when you are reaching 18 years old, it's mandatory you have to go to the military. Immediately after high school, day after 2 days, you already find yourself in the uniform, start to do your military. For a male, 3 years, female, 2 years. If I'm officer, I have to give year more. I grew up on the story, I want to be a parachuter. I want to be a commando. I grew up in the desert, I like to run, to move. That's all. I like running the mountain, I like to do all those crazy things. And I've been recruited, and I have very good, but let's say very good years on the military. The military really put me in place. They trained me to be a good officer, good soldier. They give me really the foundation to be a good for the future. That's what I never forget what the service gave to me. When I said, that's my career, because I came and said what I want. That's what I like. That's what I will expand on. Just develop the skill and different things. And that's what I did. I love what I'm doing, and that's why I decided it's will be my future.
What made you go in the Philippines? You came in here what year?
Actually, I was in Europe, and I came for vacation to Israel, and somebody with the phone said, Joseph, what are you doing? I said, connected here. Do you want to work in the Philippines? I said, excuse me? I'm Europe boy. What are we doing here in the Philippines?
Tropical.
That's the Philippines. And I know I was dating a girl. Her father was working for a shipping company based in Hong Kong. And I asked her, why the Philippines? And she tried to explain to me about the cultural life. I said, I have to 1 minute. I will fix about. Slowly, after 3 months, I was already on the plane landing here. November 1990, Saturday evening. From there, there's the history where I came. Actually, the reason why we brought me here, as I said, my specialty is really in a certain field. And that time was a lot of bank robbery, hold-up.
I remember that.
They asked me to structure the security force to respond to those events, how to respond. I saw a lot of, how do you call this, backwards and knowledge about the security here. As I said, if there is a bank robbery where the helicopter, where the response team and the motorcycle, and truly enough, all the discussion later on, I could see the improvements on responding to those incidents. After 6 months, when I done with my works here, somebody came to me, they assigned me Yaya here. And he's the bad boy. I love him so much like a brother, but he was taking me out. And his brother was telling him, please don't bring Joseph outside. I don't want him to open his eyes. But he brought me all and he asked me, Joseph, do you want to stay here? I said, I'm bachelor. I have I just have to commit a certain documentation for governments to clear everything on my clearances. And so, okay, I went. After, I think, 2 months, I came back. And this is the history.
But what made you stay in the Philippines?
First, my wife.
Love.
Love.
Look, I met a lady. I think it's the time to settle. I need to settle. I had the offer to back to Europe for the private group. They offered me a lot of money. I can say now.
But there's no love there.
US 1990 to 91 just to work there to build security layer for different organizations.
Right.
And I asked her, what my choice? He said, go for your lab. That's how I went, and I think it's how I ended up here. And if I said between business or that, was not the money, not the business, it was my wife.
Without naming or dropping any names, what was your most memorable experience doing this job?
So I used to go a lot to Zamboanga. I have a lot of my stories.
I remember this story,
And about the blind person at the airport, and also one night I'm sleeping in the room, and I'm getting knocked on the door, and somebody said, Sir Joseph, can I ask you a question? I said, what? You have a bet. What a bet? Who are you? I said, Italian model. I'm Italian model. Really? I said, no. That's known in Zamboanga. I was Italian model, not Israeli, not the Germans, not
Italian model.
That's how it was known to them. That's one of the funny things.
Thank you very much, Sir Joseph, for giving us one side of your personal touch.
Our discussion was very engaging because of the stories that you told us. But we will have a short break, Eric,
Okay.
and to our listeners, our audience. We'll be right back after some short reminders.
Want to learn about corporate security and risk management from industry experts for free? Check our latest MidDirect Touchpoint to learn more. MidDirect Touchpoint is Black Pearl's online webinar platform where security professionals and enthusiasts discuss relevant security frameworks, strategies, and issues. To register, check our LinkedIn account for the most upcoming topic and schedule.
Casting live from Manila, Philippines, we are Simply Security, helping you streamline security easily.
Welcome back. Tonight we have Mr. Josef Gueta, the Managing Director of Business Profiles Incorporated. He shared with us his insights, his personal experiences when it comes to our topic, security as a career. Here's the question. When you started Business Profiles here in the Philippines, and when you hire employees like Eric, how do you explain to them this industry?
Security is not all about guns, a uniform. Today, when I say security, it's diverse to different areas. When you look into the business of the security, you look into the people who are attending into the industry, the requirement from the industry, and what is about the industry, what area we enter in. Example, when I hire Eric, and I think we needed that time, profiler. And when I say the profiler, it's, if you talk what El Al, the Israeli airlines, doing, and train the person to protect a certain area, you have to get what you learn and to understand the Philippine culture and build in, integrating that.
Integrate,
building layer of security. I look into what type of people I need to work with me. Military man, a person who I can train, person understands documentation, person understands business process organizations. Because security, if you want to protect today your organization, it's not the gun in front of the door. Even the guard today who's standing in front of the door, he have to understand the security environments around him, what he protecting, how he can address the threats of the risk. You have to understand from the inside how to deal with issues, understand the process. Start handling with storm feast to answer the problem. You have always said security, it's not masses, it's a person. The people you're dealing with and how to deal with them, how to handle them, how to extract information. That's very important when you're choosing people to work for you and handling projects.
Okay, so the people that you hired, is it safe to say as well that security as a career somehow requires an interdisciplinary background?
When I recruit a person, a lot of times, let's say, I fail. Let's put that this one. I'm not insurance 100%. We believe in person, we invested on the person, and person back off the after. To love security, to understand security, it's much like you love your wife or you love your children.
Yeah.
It's lifestyle. It's like it's part
a
of
career.
your growth. And when you train the person, you have to understand the person, understand his weaknesses, understand his interests, what he want to do in the future, how you see those type is for the salary or for something learning. I only can say I'm proud who left after 3 years, 4 years. All of them been successful in any business. It's like when they're coming out of us, people say, oh, you came in from the School of Business Profile. They recruit them, they pay them higher salary. I say, if you're coming to us, it's not a salary. I'm not paying high. I'm paying you my knowledge, the experience. You will not get that in any school. Yeah. I don't have, like always said, oh, what belt do you have in martial arts? I say, I have no belt, but I've been trained for 5 or 4 martial arts, and I'm good with. I train for 5 pistols, I have no certification. We don't have certification. I have nothing. When even I rank my rank, nobody knows my rank. But that's how we grow up. I said, when you choose the person, you have to find what the best of the person and expand to it, develop him into what I saw with Eric example. I saw how bright is the person. I don't want to make him blushing, and I see the way he takes analytics and cry a lot in front of me. I scold him a lot. No, I have no mercy. I'm really slave driver. But I make it a slave. Today, what you are today, that's how it should be. There is no mercy. There is no black and white, but also there is some color in between. And that's how you deal with those type of things. I got a girl working for me. She came for exactly for 2-3 days program, or 2 weeks, I think, when I did some projects. Today, she's 20 years with me. She does, when I saw her ability to do like type of hacking, analytics, she can see, when I said people apply to us, I say, oh, I'm a researcher. So you copy paste, or you can do the analytic, we can extract the information from there. Not a lot of people can understand those things.
Sorry to butt in, Sir Joseph. Like what Sir Joseph is saying, I came into the company taking in consideration that when I was in the uni, I wanted to have like a degree that I really like, that I'm very passionate about. Social anthropology, then I minored in political science. Those are the 2 degrees that I really, really like to do. However, after I graduated, my problem is that most of the companies don't necessarily know what social anthropology is.
Yeah.
So what do you really do, right? And most of our career path, either it's in the academe or, research, or if you want, you want to take up masters or you want to take up law. But I dwell not to go or to follow the same path, because most of the people are following that path. So when this opportunity came, I was like, the first question that popped in my head was like, corporate security. So how would I jive it in with the degree that I have? And little did I know, in my surprise, it actually fit in. Like, you're talking to people, you're doing research, you're doing ethnography, and then at the same time, we're doing geopolitical analysis. And these are actually a field of private security that is not that popular in the Philippines. If you go to Europe, just check your LinkedIn. There, you'll see a lot of geopolitical analysts, security analysts that are, tagged in. And basically, these are like advisors when it comes to investments, when it comes to decision making, like corporate decision making.
You take the person, and example, I see in Europe or in the US, the people are graduate from university security. I call them desk security person. Don't get them real security person. To take a person who grew up in the field and convert it into a business, understanding how to bring the people,
the dynamics,
the best out of them, and to produce a good report, understands. Maybe I may not ask Eric, when you do a security design, where the strategy will come. That's we need more the experience and knowledge. But when I work with them, I do a lot of brainstorming. I said, how do you see that from your points? What's your issue? If I do scenario, what the issue will be, how the enemy will act, who the people will act, internal, inside there, outside, inside. And that's, I said, you're dealing with people who will never come on the security. You train them to think as a security practitioner. It's not like a check mark. Yes.
We have to think out of the box.
If I say
even if there is no box.
That's how we see it.
That's why what I'm saying earlier, Miles, is like security, at least for us, it's like thinking 24/7, non-stop. And then I think one of the reasons as well that made me stay, at least in this career, is the fact that being in security consultancy industry, the issues are always not the same. It's like different almost every day.
Challenge.
And then and it's a lot of learning, because the issues of, let's say, the mining industry is completely different from BPOs and call centers, and you learn a lot from them. That's something that I really cherish, because I imagine myself just working in one company. No offense to some of our colleagues in the industry, their specialization is 1 or 2 or 3 industry. In my case, the opportunity that was given to me was, we were taking a lot of different kinds of issues, a lot of thinking, and a lot of learning, come to think of it.
Because I have research team. Before they go to any project, they have to do a lot of research, a lot of information gathering, building profiling. When I go to the clients already, I know already what to answer. I know the issue to the clients. I know the people involved. It's like way of learning. No matter if I'm saying I'm 64 and I'm so much knowledgeable, I'm still learning every day. I read a lot. I research a lot. I'm looking for things. I try to understand why people acting that way. I ask even my people, what do you think is that way? And even today, I ask myself, what do you mean by saying that? How it can work that way? And I want to understand, like, it's always you learning, it's always learning, it's always challenging. Your brain never stops. It's 24/7. Like, sometimes they go to me and say, did you bring the book? I mean, where the book? I say, I'm the book. What do you want? I say.
Most of the time, like for instance, for clients, when they come in, they would tell you, this is our issue. These are our requirements. And most of the time, what we found out after we do like an assessment, most of their issues are just tip of the iceberg. If you go deeper, you'll see a lot of other issues that they haven't seen or they haven't noticed, simply because it's something that they might miss or something that they don't know.
Sometimes you go to them and it's out of ego, or sometimes they don't want to disclose their certain issue. And
for confidentiality.
For a lot of things like this. And I said, what the issue? And always, we are best, we are good, we are good, we are good. Sometimes I'm getting so much inis already. And then I start to ask questions, and suddenly, after 15 minutes, can you help us? Can you guide us? We don't have that. I start to point finger about the management. So I said, it's not the issue. We know the business. We want to help. We want to assist you. We're not going to take your place, because this is our expertise.
Last point as well, Miles. I think one of the key element or the key characteristic of at least our team, not that we're promoting it, but what I'm just saying is, like, I really like the dynamics that we currently have, because you look at security on a more holistic perspective. We happen to have, teams coming from the military and the police. They give their perspective. And then you also have journalists, you have investigators who are also looking at a different perspective. You also have social workers, teachers, and then the brainstorm, when the brainstorming comes in, that's the time that you realize that at least you have an almost perfect, there's no perfect picture of an issue or a security issue. So as there's no perfect security, but at least you have the opportunity to realize.
Close to being accurate. Now, I have two more questions for you, Joseph. Is there a need to promote security on a mass level, considering that intelligence and information is power? Do you think there is a need, or is it necessary for this industry to be promoted, or many people should know about this?
I remember a nice story. I went to Paris, I think it's early 2000, to watch the Melipol, this is the security event, one of the biggest in the world. When I stepped in, and I said, wow, I'm 50 years backwards compared to the Philippines. If I look at the present situation today, and I look 30 years ago when I came here, the security industry really expanded very well. Due to the technology existing today and the social media, information open, before we didn't have that.
Cybersecurity.
We're very limited with the resources to study, to understand what's happening in the world. We are not traveling much out here. Let's put that, again, we are poor little bit. We don't have that resources. Only few companies can afford to send the people out. Just to bring the mass, to elevate them. I will tell you, no. You don't want to invest on yourself, don't be somebody. Because when you're going to offer your services, or you're dealing with something, you must know everything by heart. I mean, there's certain things I don't know, but I try to, what I do in my business, I don't understand even how to turn on my computer. I can call this SOS button.
That's true.
For this grace. If something, I call, Grace, I have issue. I can call at midnight. But I will tell them exactly what to look, where to look, how to look at this one. I know better than them. What I'm saying, I'm recruiting the right people to the right job. I know what I want. I tell the person, I said, that's what you do. This is something, if a person doesn't know, he doesn't want to invest himself, I cannot promote him in this. And don't expect respect from organization.
So it's work ethic to begin with.
You have to invest. You have to learn. You have to adjust to the change from the situation. Today, if you ask me, what today? Cyber, technology, IT, today is the business. If I go to Mindanao, still have the security guard with the rifle, salute. That's what we believe. That's our security. If a person wants to learn, go out of the country, learn there. Expose outside. Why the Filipino, a lot of good Filipino, successful outside. They're exposed to a lot of things. They're learning a lot of things.
They have to thrive, yes.
We're very limited.
But, sir, would you say that social perception when it comes to security professional, corporate security as well, on hindsight, also plays an important role when it comes to the profession. Like what you've said earlier, because there's just some companies where in their perception to their security team or to their security executive is, how can I say it? It's not as collaborative, for the lack of better term, simply because they look at security as a non-profit oriented department or non-financial. That's why they're usually not part of the decision making process. What we're always looking at is the top level management has the most important or the most significant role in terms of putting in or integrating security as on part of their organizational dynamics.
Remember, we always say, I look always the hierarchies and the organizations. Who the security department reporting to? How independent they can create? Most of them, a lot of organizations, they're reporting to HR, facility manager, different organizations. If security is so important to you and you believe you want to protect your assets, let them to grow, expand on them, develop them. And that's what I feel sometimes when you go to, I said, in our level, or I see that's also in Europe, or I see it's in the US. The security manager is equal to head department, head of like HR, head of facilities, head of marketing. They have the same level. He has the opinion, they can listen to him, they treat him as part of the board. Here we don't see that way. And I don't expect from a security manager to deliver or to be a confidence if they're putting him always down. They're not giving him just to groom, to understand. And all the time I have to ask, you can feel them sometimes kawawa when they have to ask for this one, to do this one. And my boss says, I don't like to hear that because I see them, I see the pride of them. I see how good are they, but they cannot do a lot.
But in all fairness, there are also companies that we've dealt with wherein, the voice of their security director actually really counts. Like in finance, even before they do like any decisions when it comes to finance, to operations, to any other investments, there should always be a green light coming from the security department. And these are the companies. But I mean, there are some companies. It's not like absolutely there's no company here.
Eric, you're talking about multinational companies.
Yeah.
And my favorite guy, and I can say his name, even the company send him to UK, because he always, when he come to us, he asks questions. He come to us just to sit with us to learn. He asking questions. Yeah. One day he came to me, they send me to UK to understand security environments, how to deal with the threats risks from outside. And I said, how much the company paid for it? 200,000. And the tickets, aside from the ticket noted. I said, why? I really admire the company. They really invested on you because they appreciate what is the security about to them. By doing good security department, they're minimizing the losses and the threats to their company assets. And the business can go better. And I know
for instance, I have a question on that. But let's say a company or an executive, a CEO happens to have that disposition. However, the only problem is, again, goes back to the question, do we have the funds to bring or to send our security team for these kinds of training? Mm-hmm. So how do they go about that?
This is investments. I put that way. In the span from March 15 up to today, how many training I spend money for my people? And compared to the income we have, how much training my people went through? It's investment. But the minute I train you well and I can go back, I sit in the office, I can rest and you do the job for me the way I want. It's my investments. Why should you go travel to do the job for you? If I can train my person very well. It's investment on you. You pay me back when you go.
What is also interesting here is that because of the pandemic, if you go online, there are just so many, you just have to be very resourceful. There's so many, companies, organizations like us who are actually giving platforms for continuous learning for free. You don't necessarily need to invest a lot. For instance, now, trainings has been borderless. Like, it's not a matter of a training school in the UK or in the Philippines or in the US.
Information is really available. And coming from the journalism,
non-security,
journalism perspective, although there are a lot of organizations, groups who are offering trainings, sometimes for free, sometimes not, I think it is also important to have a keen eye to look at, to verify the credibility of the organization that is giving a certain training.
Sure.
Look at how their credibility, their credentials, just to make sure that you're not wasting your time. In my case, I have signed up for a lot of online courses, but sometimes when I see
more like advertising.
Exactly. Or sometimes
feel like you're scammed.
It's trash. It's trash. Or sometimes
for the lack of better term.
Exactly. So we have to have this keen eye and be critical as well as to the trainings that we receive. Also, to like what you've said, it's very easy right now to get information.
Talking about security, and I think we just try taking up the opportunity for us to show the public that there's actually like this kinds of platform wherein you could actually learn security even if you're constrained inside the corners of your house.
Yeah, Mike, again, what I see in here, I can see that prior to the pandemic issues, the technology and the security now are going up. We left behind. That's why I say like what used to be the physical, now the physical down, now with the technology, we have to catch up with this one to understand the effect, how can affect fraud, how can be from the insider issues. Security people must start to upgrade themselves. If not, they will stay behind.
That's right. Allow me to cut you there, Joseph. Thank you so much for those sharings and insights. After our quick break, we will read some of our listeners' insights and questions.
Tonight's episode is brought to you by Business Profiles Incorporated, leading the way to strategic corporate risk and security management solutions. Business Profiles Incorporated, our business is to keep you in business. Macro Consultancy, bringing intelligence analysis, travel security, and business continuity support to new heights. Macro Consultancy, intelligence for smarter decisions.
BP Argus Security Services Incorporated. For holistic industrial protection, BP Argus Security Services is committed to the highest standards of providing effective security manpower services. Bluforce Security Services, the security manpower of choice by many companies and organizations in the Philippines. Bluforce Security Services, delivering quality protection and service integrity to your corporate needs. Casting live from Manila, Philippines, we are Simply Security, helping you streamline security easily.
All right, and we're back. So we're going to read some of the questions and opinions from our audience. Here's the question, Joseph. As a millennial working in cyber intelligence, how do I balance between establishing a PR presence, this is interesting, on social media and minimizing my exposure from the criminals I investigate?
Technology today, not only it's good for us, it can be affecting us. And again, when we are building, my suggestion also, and that's what we try to build today, is cyber people who specialize on cyber, understands the requirements. I think what Moira pointing out.
This is Mara.
Mara, sorry. Today, to balance between the threat inside to you that you develop in a business, you will expose a lot to the bad elements. First, you have to know how to put your presence under the radar. I think you have always have to look into how I do for Mara, because it's the red flag. I do first vulnerability assessments. I know where I'm vulnerable, what issue I might can be. What information should be releasing? How release the information? Who the receiving? I know with who I'm dealing. What I'm trying to say, I'm not saying 101% insurance. What I'm trying to minimize the risk into my process, to a certain exercise or certain pressure I have to put in place. And today, what I also said in Marano, it will be a lot of people, a lot of companies will be exposed to that threats. I hope I answered.
Quick follow-up to Sir Joseph's answer. It's also important to advertise yourself. I think in the nature of work of Mara, it's very important to be on the radar. However, as someone in cybersecurity, I think what she needs to do is to identify what are the information that is plainly,
Can be.
business. You have to be very conscious on the fact that you might be oversharing.
A lot of people sharing so much information about the
Right.
private life information. For me, as what I'm doing intelligence, it's a very good for me to get those information, do the profiling. But my point here, what information, what access to, and how to access to, what allowed to release, not allowed to release. And I think some people are sometimes too excited to communicate outside.
Not true.
And you sharing
To the point of
information, and without
oversharing.
understanding, like how many business lost because of industrial espionage. I do it through online. I know what the product,
reputation problem.
And I can do the business.
On top of that, just to finish, before I forget, knowing Mara as well, because she does a lot of OSIN. I think most people do this. I think even Miles might have done it once or twice. Like you try tracing your own digital footprints. Like you do a counter surveillance of yourself. Right?
Do the investigative, for the back, you do the investigative backwards investigative.
Yes. So how you try tracing back what are the potential vulnerabilities that you may have. So I think, Mara, just to answer your question, I think it's very important for you to be able to frame first what are the information that is business-wise allowed to be shared online. And then at the same time, just to double check or to validate, do a cross-surveillance or cross-profiling of your digital footprints. And then,
that is something that we can discuss on this podcast.
And then act upon it, whether or not this is something too personal or it might be exposing some of your personal information. On top of that, as an individual, you might be security conscious about your digital prints, but you also have to check your families or your social network, your friends. They might be tagging you or might be sharing some of your information that you are not aware of. How would you encourage young professionals to overlook the tough side of security so they can see the exciting and fulfilling part of it?
Yes, I think we missed this question earlier as to the opportunities and the exciting parts of this profession.
I go back again. What I love in this job. First, as I said, the challenge, the different industry you approach, the dealing with the people, meeting people in different society, different level. I can say it, without say I met from the top, the country, the pyramid, the number 1, number 2, number 3, we work for them. If I look into who we met, what industry we enter, and what information we went to, the traveling, living on the mountain, living in place. I can say one time I stayed in the hotel, 5-star hotel. Following there, I'm in the mountain with the short pants, doing things. It's so dynamic. You see a lot of things. You're dealing with the different issues. You get a threat here. You're dealing with the nice people. You sit in the restaurant, 5-hotel restaurant, you eating in steak and things, and after the following day, you eating from the food from the mud just to eat. And also to choose right job can fit to your personality. Not all fit to you. You have to understand the person, what you like. People like today, you want to work in intelligence, you want to work in cyber, like Mara, she knows that very well. In Israel today, they developed the cyber in the college. For this college, cyber. It's a profession.
Yes.
When you go to the military already, they're expanding already. When you go out, you get a so high salary, better than CEO here. You have to choose what do you like. What do you want, not what do you like. Because it's not movie. There is a lot of pressure on the business. My people went through so much pressure, and I could see them were standing when people cannot stand. What do you want to be?
Yeah.
It's a salary or something you want to learn to build your foundations?
On my end, I just want to share. I think most of the time, like if you're young and then you're a fresh grad, you're always excited of the unique things. But I think it's just a matter of managing expectations. Most of the time, some people, especially coming from certain levels of the society, they get easily intimidated by security because you have to look like this, you have to you have to be very disciplined, which is, some of the core values of the profession. But what I'm saying is that you have to have a good disposition. I think for me, that's the most important thing. Like what Sir Joseph was saying, you have to find the right attributes for you to be able to be successful in any profession, just like in security. I've interviewed a lot of applicants who wanted to go to the security industry, especially when it comes to fieldwork. This is one of my classic examples. When I ask them, how are you with fieldworks? Oh, I love fieldworks. You know what? Because inside their head, the picture of fieldwork is like having a
And
travel
fun.
show.
A teammate, I want to go to the field. I want to go. A lady, I really love her so much. Okay, you want to go to Laguna, there is investigation. She came at the end of the day, all muddy, grinding.
Yeah.
I said, what? I went to the field, the rice field. I said, this is part of the job. See what the field, this is it. Because they do investigations, and she was crying. But I asked for the field. This is the field. Well, that's how she came.
Yeah. Most of the time, the field work in the security is not an elegant, it's not an elegant field work. Not at all. You have to climb mountains. You have to communicate with not that nice people. And you have to be prepared for that. It's not really a travel show. It is exciting looking at it outside looking in. But once you're in, it's very stressful.
Very stressful, very stressful.
What makes me passionate about it, what motivates me to do a project is I always look forward to the learnings after. It adds up like a skill unlock for you. Just last point, Miles. For those who are aspiring to be a security professional, let me give you, a fair warning that the security profession is not an 8 to 5 job. It's not a 9 to 6 job. It requires a lot of overtime, a lot of holidays, personal celebrations that you have to sacrifice. Like several years wherein I spent my birthdays and my Christmas in the field than spending it to my family.
I bring him the cake. I say, Eric, it's your birthday today. Let's celebrate together.
And then I forgot because simply I forgot it's my birthday because we're too preoccupied in a project. But anyhow,
from Ramil Maravillo, they say security management worldwide changed after the 9/11 incident because obviously there is an obvious breach of security attributed to that incident. How can you size up these changes 19 years after, Joseph?
I can tell you straight to the point. Nothing changed in the Philippines after 9/11. What we had before, we have the same things. People make a lot of noise on the first few months. Who really took that seriously is the insurance company, multinational, mostly American, on the travel or response. Local company is too far from us. We have our own problem here. We didn't before 9/11 with our problem. We didn't the same problem as today. 9/11 not changed in terms of things on the day. It just open our eyes what to look into and how to deal with. That's how I see it.
On my end, Miles, I think it's a matter of pacing. Like what Sir Joseph have mentioned, it's an eye-opener for many industries, not only in the security industry. And I think in all fairness, we're actually moving towards that direction. But if we're going to compare it to other countries or, to the West, wherein they're primarily the main target of terrorist attacks. Although there are, analysis that the second wave of terrorism or the new frontier is in Southeast Asia. There are progress, but on a relative pace. Let's just put it that way. I think it's cultural as well. Although it's not, it's not specific only to the Philippines. It happens around the world.
Yes.
Sometimes it's, the reactive culture wherein most of the time they look at security more of like a cost rather than an investment. But when you look at it, like some companies that I know who really did a lot of preemptive measures or really step up in terms of their security policies, were relatively safe for with regard to a lot of reputation problem. Because when you talk about security, especially reputation problem, it's something that it's very difficult to size in. How much does a reputational problem really cost?
But you know what, Eric, Joseph, it's somehow it's a sad realization that as big as 9/11 incident, it was not maximized by not only the security industry here in the Philippines, but probably
also a lot of industries. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. They have not taken away the importance of putting in groundwork and research to stop this kind of bad act.
Anyhow, let me read some of our participants' comments. Coming from an anonymous attendee, I think the appeal of the security industry is in its ever-changing form. Yeah, I agree. You have to learn every day, adapt continuously, and reinvent methods and processes. Seems like you'll find the most passionate people in security. I think that is very much true.
We reached the last segment of our show, which we call the
Quick Talk. This is how the segment will work, Joseph. We will give you two options, and you just have to choose one. You cannot answer it depends. You cannot refuse to answer. Just one answer, and that's enough.
Are you ready?
Ready.
Running or swimming?
Running.
Someone with experience in the field or someone who knows how to analyze?
Somebody with the field, yeah.
Site survey or interviewing people?
Site survey.
Security design or threat analysis?
Threat analysis.
Working in the mountains or working in the city?
Mountain.
Mr. Bean or Liam Neeson from Taken?
My love is to Mr. Bean, no matter what.
Real Madrid or Manchester United?
Wala.
Both of them I don't like.
But you just have to choose one.
I admire Real Madrid. I love Real Madrid. Actually, I watched it a lot. I know them by heart.
Okay.
I watched them, yeah.
No explaining. Boko Pandan or Malabi?
Malabi.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very
Joseph. You're such a sport. Well, thank you very much.
To get the latest security information in the Philippines and for upcoming events, do not forget to follow us on our LinkedIn page, Black Pearl Consultancy, under Information Services. And you could also follow us via Twitter at BlackPearl_INC.
Again, this is Miles.
And this is Eric,
This is Simply Security.
helping you streamline security easily. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for
Bye.
participating in our very first episode. Thank you very much, Sir Joseph.
Thank you. Bye-bye.